coming up, a hard-hitting 4x4 question from one of my favourite humans, a beard-stroking blue singlet bogan who most probably spent a lot of his early life asleep from 9 to 3 at school. Like, didn't they all? And today, they vote. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, and I get new cars cheap for buyers here in Australia. Website for that, obviously, or you can just click the card that's up there now, dude. I love it when, let's call them, civilians attempt to poke holes in basic engineering arguments like, mate, never studied Bernoulli, Pascal, Newton or D'Alembert. I didn't need it, but happy to have a crack with airflow. Like, how hard can it be? Oh, I was sitting around a campfire just next to Dingo Piss Creek talking to a guy about his LS-powered GU Patrol. He explained that it was making about 200 kilowatts at the wheels on a dyno, but mentioned that he had to replace the regular safari-style snorkel with a custom 4-inch stainless steel snorkel so that he could gain more airflow to make those numbers. How is that possible if snorkels don't increase airflow? P.S. My 4-wheel drive's fitted with a snorkel, and besides that fact that I've done Cape York, Arnhem Land and the Victorian High Country in it, it makes me feel really tough when I pull up to the Woolies carpark to pick up my supply of toilet paper. Sam, airflow is one word. And that's kind of important, dude, if that's the central issue about which your, let's call it, thesis orbits. Also, it seems to me it's getting quite crowded lately at Dingo Piss Creek. I think we should probably lobby for DP Creek to achieve World Heritage listing stat. But whatever you do, please don't Google DP Creek. Abbreviating in this way for Google search might shock the sensitive among you, and I advise against it. I'm not at all confident even Google's miraculous AI can sort that one out properly. Pro tip, always clear your internet search history before you die. The grieving widow does not need to see that. For more tips like this, visit my other website, dpexpert.com.au. Unless, of course, Alborz has that one as well. In an earlier report, which I will link to up there somewhere if senility doesn't get the better of me in the meantime, I did allege using facts that snorkels are mostly a bullshit waste of money, bordering on being a complete blue singlet wank, unless you actually drive through water deeper than the standard air inlet. The responses were fascinating, frankly, so thank you for that. Some of you alleged that it's less dusty up there, 18 whole inches higher than the standard air intake. It's not. Some of you told me that the air is cooler up there because you're not sucking it from the hot engine bay. It's not. Engines don't do that. There's either a scoop out in front of the radiator and sort of over the top under the hood, or at the side of the headlamp, or inside the inner guard, some location like that. So the inlet air does not come from inside the engine bay, dude, unless your wanking chariot rolled off the line when the T-Rex was still walking among us. P.S. That never happened. And even if your chariot is doing only about, 40 k's an hour, it is travelling its own length, roughly twice every second, even at that somewhat slow speed. That's a fairly substantial amount of airflow, that cooler air coming into the standard air inlet. So there's that. Overall, I found a subset of your comments on this to be quite entertaining attempts to justify one of the preeminent ultimate wank 4x4 modifications. But Sam's comment was the best by far. Well done, dude. Two bearded chaps staring into the fire, stroking. Good times. Jamming GM's LSV8 into Shitbox GU is one of the more compelling hardcore 4x4 mods, so nice choice there, other bearded dude. Another TP in the trousers DIY mod, for certain. Marks4wheeldrive.com does an awesome bell housing input shaft extension and GM clutch adapter for your clapped out 4.8 Nissan Straight 6 GU. Just 3,650 big ones. LS V8 engine not included. But you can procure one of General Motors' finest 6.2 litre LS V8s recode for just $5,750 from dudes like LSX Performance Parts in Victoria, humanity's brown coal capital. Yes. Stock Patrol goes from an anorexic 185 kilowatts at 4,800 revs to a far more Ron Jeremy spec 304 kilowatts at 6,000. Yes. Peak torque is up from 420 newton meters at 3,600 to 570 at 4,400. If it were me doing this, I'd kill myself, and then if that wasn't an option, I'd get 2 ARB air lockers, one for each end. And then, four-wheeled burnouts are now an entertaining reality in every low-range ratio. Summer Nats, here we come. Until then, you'll be the envy of all the other housos in your street. Like, dude, you've managed 3 wives without once changing in-laws. Well done. You might as well attempt this next. It's kind of a logical progression. So that's 3,650 big ones plus 5,750 plus 2, $1,200 air lockers, and you'll also need a compressor for about $400. So that's 12 grand, more or less, which is roughly the same as a fortnight in a bayside bungalow on Poontang Island with hot and cold running Ming moles, mostly hot, versus sitting around a campfire at Dingo Piss Creek with the mosquitoes, the snakes, the rats, the spiders, talking 4x4s with a fellow fat man in a singlet, sucking smoke and hoovering up warm Fosters, quietly braiding each other's ZZ Top beards, singing Kumbaya. Not that there's anything wrong with that. To Sam's key point here, I would retort, dude, engines consume air and add fuel to that, producing power that delivers mumbo at the wheels. Metric mumbo here in Australia, obviously. A snorkel cannot improve airflow into your engine in any meaningful way, but it certainly can restrict airflow when you make the engine substantially bigger and force it to spin substantially faster, and yet you leave the snorkel stock. And one of the best ways ever to limit the power production of any engine is to restrict inlet airflow. Let's not forget that. Many racing classes use this method to even the playing field. The WRC certainly used to. I don't know if they still do, but hey. Mods were unlimited, virtually, but you had to run a controlled air restrictor in the inlet. It's kind of hard to get around that, okay, literally. So, LSGU Beard Stroker has fitted an engine that's 29% bigger, which needs to rev 25% faster to make peak power. Engines are not pumps, of course, but you can think of them kind of like pumps for ballpark analyses such as these. 1.29, that's the 29% bigger part, times 1.25, that's the 25% faster spinning part, equals 1.61. So if you jam that hulking LS into your own shitbox GU one afternoon in the shed, it'll need to suck roughly 61% more air than standard to do its fine work at peak power, smoking up all 4 mud terrains before shattering the driveline. Yes. And I'm pretty sure the standard Safari snorkel just doesn't support that sort of latent airflow capacity increase, so it acts as a de facto restrictor if you stupidly leave it in place. Therefore, a fatter snorkel is one approach to allow the engine to suck, squeeze, bang and blow as enthusiastically as GM's engineers intended. The other way to ensure maximum inlet airflow is just to remove the snorkel altogether and sort it all out like a non-wanker. I know. It's something of an intelligence test, isn't it? If you fit the snorkel, you might just be smart enough to become Australia's next Prime Minister.